Graeme Dunlop. Now, Graeme is a hidden gem for me in South Australia because I haven't come across him as much as maybe Victorians have. And I've found his engagement and his interaction with the district in the Zoom team and current area director has been absolutely wonderful. So really pleased to welcome your hidden gem, which is Graeme Dunlop. And Graeme's going to be speaking on new member kits, and it's the Pathways Basics. So all of that wonderful information that's on Toastmasters International on the Pathways Basics, we're going to be shared today from our hidden gem, which is Graeme Dunlop. Welcome, Graeme.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you for that lovely introduction. That's very kind of you. Hello, everybody. How is everyone today? I hope you're all feeling well. A bit of a cooler day. And today we are going to be talking about pathways. Now, it's billed on the agenda as a bit of a new members kit. There isn't really a kit as such. It's more about pathways and navigating pathways and using pathways. So if you're expecting something else, I'm sorry, but that's the way we're going to go. Now, the best way, I think, to show you how to get around pathways is to actually show you. So I will be sharing my screen and showing you exactly how to get around pathways. Now, Sue mentioned that I'm a hidden gem. That's an odd way to look at me. I don't know if it's because of my beard or something. I didn't always have this beard. This is a lockdown thing. I was locked down for a year like all of us, and this is the result. I used to have no beard. I used to shave, and I used to actually shave my head as well. So I looked quite different. So when you see me in that configuration, you'll know it's actually me and not somebody else. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a moment. Okay, let's look at how to get into pathways. First of all, we go to the toastmasters.org site. Everyone hopefully should know about this site because it's the way that you get into pathways and actually access information about yourself. So log in up on the top here. We'll click on that and we get the login screen. Now I'm just going to do a bit of magic with logging in there for a second. So automatically logging myself in. And once you do that, you'll see a nice welcome Graeme, or it'll be welcome Emma or welcome Michael, depending on your name. We'll click on that. And then you'll see a panel, a sort of a dashboard, I guess, of information about you and your Toastmasters journey. And you can see just in the middle there, that's what I look like without a beard. There you go. I'm sure you are interested in that. To get into pathways, there's 3 panels up the top where it says go to Basecamp, choose a new path or view the navigator. The easiest way to get in is just to click on Go, and then you will go into pathways. There are numerous ways of getting into pathways. I find this one the easiest. So your mileage may vary, but that's the easiest way to do it. And if you want to get back to your Toastmasters profile, then up on the top, under where it says welcome to Basecamp, there's a little link where it says return. You can just click on that and you go back to the information panel. But if we say go, then here is the home screen of pathways, and there are numerous things you can get. The first place you want to go is here where it says paths and learning education transcript. And when you click on that, you will see the path that you have chosen. Now, it'll depend on your path, what comes up here. I've chosen the path effective coaching. In fact, I've chosen humour as well. That should be showing up sometime soon. But effective coaching is my path. And if you click on Open Curriculum, then you get a nice summary of where you're up to in your particular path. And each path has, as you can see, 5 levels. Every path has 5 levels. And for each one, you can click on this level 1, level 2, level 3 to see what the projects are at that particular level. So for level 1, this is always the same. We have the Icebreaker, the evaluation and feedback projects, and the researching and presenting project. Level 2, you'll get some differentiation depending on the path that you've chosen. You may or may not have all of these things. My particular path, effective coaching, is a bit of a leadership and communication thing. So we've got leadership style, communication style, and Toastmasters mentoring. Then in level 3, I have 1 mandatory project, which is reaching consensus. And then I can do 2 elective projects. And if I click on that here, I see all of the options available to me. I can choose to do any 2 of those, and level 4 and level 5 are similar. So let's go back to level 1, and we'll go to the very first speech that you do, which is the Icebreaker. And if we click on that, oh, that's not the one I wanted to do, my apologies, I'll just go backwards. If we click on Launch, then Pathways will think about that for a little while, and it will take some time for the project to load up, depending on the speed of your computer and so on. That was actually pretty good. And for each project that you have, there are a number of features that are pretty much always the same. So to see what your project consists of, or how you move through it, you have a section list here. And if you click on that, you'll see all of the progressions through the different parts of the project. There's always an introduction. It clearly describes your assignment. Pretty much always you've got an assess your skills before, which is matched at the end by an assess your skills after. And then there are all the different parts of the introduction, of the project. So let's just quickly go through this. The Icebreaker speech, the introduction, this tells you what it is that the project is about, what we're actually going to be doing. The next thing is it tells you what you have to do. You're going to give a 4 to 6 minute speech in this instance. Then we move into the actual assignment itself. And for each assignment, you can get a project checklist, which may or may not be helpful to you. This just gives you a list of things that you have to do for each of your projects. So here it is, it's pretty basic. Schedule your speech, write your speech, don't forget to do that one. Rehearse your speech, also don't forget to do that one. And then do the self-assessment of assess your skills afterwards. So that's the project checklist. That describes what the purpose of your project is, in this case, to introduce yourself to the club, or if you're doing it for a second time, reintroduce or introduce another aspect of yourself to your club. And then what you have to do is write a speech, give it to the club, and be evaluated. So you can see we've gone through the introduction, we're on your assignment. Then there's a thing where we go through assessing your skills, where it asks you a number of things about yourself. I'm calm and confident, yes or no. and you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not very confident, 5 being supremely confident. And then next we go through, understand the strength of the speech, my skills as a communicator and leader, and so on. And if you're wondering, I have done this project before, and I did rate myself 5 because I have done this project a number of times. So I am myself fairly confident about this project. Then we come to what you're actually going to learn. So navigation, blah, blah, blah. Here's what we're going to get out of this project. The elements of a basic speech structure, preparation, spontaneity, demonstrate self-confidence, and so on. Next, we go through, I think there's a video, remembering the icebreaker. This one talks about, this is where a bunch of people talk about their icebreaker. That's just for you to watch, something to keep you interested. And then we come to what you're going to get out of it. Again, you and your goals, how to prepare and present. And actually, I won't go through all of this because I'm sure you've seen these things before. And then we come to the point where we receive some feedback. So review and apply. And then for each project that you have, there will be an evaluation of yourself afterwards, which is what we've just done. Now, once you get through all of the bits and pieces of the speech, once you've learned what you're supposed to do, once you've given your speech, once you've been evaluated, you really need to come back here and make sure that you go to, oh dear, that's not the right one. Make sure that you go to complete your assignment and then move through these things here, your evaluation, and then right through to the end. Once you get to this bit where it says, congratulations, you've completed the project, that's the point where Pathways will actually mark the project as completed. And that's how Pathways and Toastmasters International will track your progress as we go through. Now, there are a few interesting things. I'll just quickly go back here. On this, your evaluation screen, you've usually got 2 or 3 things. The evaluation resource, this is the evaluation form. Each of your projects has an evaluation form, and it's really good practice to make sure that your evaluator, because your speeches will always be evaluated in your club, make sure that your evaluator has this evaluation form and make sure it's the right one for your particular project. Each evaluation form is pretty similar. You've got the speech title and so on, and you'll get you excelled at, you may want to work on, and to challenge yourself. So you did really well at this, you excelled at. Here are some points you may want to work on. And if you really want to improve, here's some suggestions on how to do that. And then there are all ratings on your clarity, vocal variety, and a number of different things. So make sure you've got the evaluation resource. And one thing that maybe people don't know about is this link here, which is print my project. Now, one thing about Pathways is you always have access to Pathways as long as you're a paid up member. If for any reason you decide not to keep coming to Toastmasters, then and you don't pay your dues, then you will lose access to Pathways. So as you go through and complete each project, it can be useful to print your project, which will give you a PDF, and that contains all of the information that you've gone through, as you can see here on the table of contents, same kind of thing, your assignment, assess your skills, complete your assignment, and so on. And then you can download that and save that to keep as a future reference. So that's one thing that people don't always know about, and that's a useful thing to have. Now, I'll close that one down. I finished my icebreaker and it was a great success. So that was excellent. And I'll come back to the dashboard of my effective coaching path. Now, if I go back to the home screen, there are two things I mentioned during that. There was printing out the project so that you've got a copy of that for your own reference, and there's your evaluation as well. So your evaluator will use that evaluation form to give you concrete feedback that's handy to keep and store yourself. So I'd like to show you two ways of doing that. One way of doing that is within Pathways itself. Back on the home screen here, you can see that you've got a link down on the bottom right there that says My Documents. Now, in My Documents, if you click on that, you see that you've got just a couple of, I guess you'd call them folders or directories or whatever you want to call them. So in level 1 here, if we click on level 1, I've been using this to keep a record of all the evaluations that I've received. So I get the evaluations, I receive them as PDFs from the people who've evaluated me, and I upload them into these folders. And then you can just keep them and refer back to them. So this one, oh, that's right, I did that speech on the Australian Constitution. That was really fun. The Constitution is pretty interesting. And I used the castle, you know, it's the vibe, it's Mabo, it's, yeah, that's really it. Anyway, enough nostalgia. So you can also download these once you've got them there. So download them just like any other PDF. So there we go, that's been downloaded. And if you want to add another file, if you want to upload a file and keep a copy in this area here, you can click on Add File. And then you can just select the file from wherever it is on your computer. So I might want to upload this. And it will be added to those files that are already there. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, that's one way of doing things. If we go back to the home screen, remember that My Documents thing is down on the bottom here. Another way of doing things, this is just a personal suggestion. You don't have to do this. You can do it whatever way makes sense to you. Keep files on your computer, it doesn't matter. Now, I happen to have a particular Toastmasters email address, which is a Gmail address. So here we go. Look, here's all my emails. Wow, I must be popular. I got so many. Why are so many unread? Anyway, another thing you can do for yourself is a Gmail account or a Yahoo or a Microsoft account or anything like that will come with some kind of online storage in itself. So if we look at the online storage for my personal Gmail account here, you can see this is where I keep all of my Toastmasters stuff. And I have a folder that I've made for myself called the Effective Coaching Pathway. If I look in there, you can see that I've got, in fact, I've downloaded I printed off and downloaded some of the projects that I've done. So here, in fact, is the Icebreaker. That's the one that I showed you before. You can see that's the same thing. Oops, it's not telling me what to do. And I've also chosen to have a folder called Evaluations with each of the levels. It's the same kind of idea, obviously, as what you've got there in Pathways. It's just that here is a place where I can keep these things, which is mine, if you like. It's not kept in Pathways, because if you happen to not pay up as a Toastmaster, you will lose access to Pathways. So in this way, I'm keeping my evaluations and a record of the projects, the project downloads here in my own Gmail account. And I guess if you're interested, there's also, that's also a place where I keep my speeches. So here I've got the Pathway stuff. Here I've got my speeches, because for a lot of my speeches, not all of them, but for a lot of them, I do write them out in full. So where is the Icebreaker one? Here is the Icebreaker. This was one where what was I talking about? Oh, that's right. A sliver of information about me. That's right. And I talked about how I do some podcasting and some narration. Now, you can see here I've put about 700 words is about 5 minutes. I happen to know roughly how fast I speak. So I know that if I write a speech of about X words, that's going to give me Y minutes. So for this one, I just needed to write 700 words. There we go. Easy. For the Constitution speech, where was that? This one. How did I write this one out? Okay, so I've chosen to do a presentation with slides, and so I put some notes to myself here about what I was going to say for each of the slides. So in here, I introduced the castle, then I talked a bit about the Constitution and so on. So sorry, that's strictly speaking, that's not really about Pathways, but that's just one way that you can keep the information that you need to keep in your journey. Now, one other thing you can do is you can give and ask for feedback. So my feedback, if you want to do this through the system, through Pathways, you can. So what you can do is give a feedback request, anything like, can you please tell me what you thought of my Constitution speech? And then you have a choice of saying who you want to get the feedback from. And in here, when you click on that, you can search for people. Now, if I search for, let me see, James, it will show me people within my club. It won't show me everybody in Toastmasters. That would be nice, maybe, but it will show me people from within my club. So one of the members of my club is called James. So I might want to get something from a lady called Joan. So I can add Joan, and then that's the people that I will get feedback from. And then when I click on post, that request will go out to those two people, and they can give me feedback. Now, whether you find it useful to collect the information like of feedback in Pathways itself, that's kind of up to you. I suspect that many of you would probably like to get feedback in person. I kind of prefer to get feedback in person. And there are also many other ways that you can do this. Some clubs use things like Slack or Teams or social media to communicate with each other and with the club outside of club meetings. So that may be more useful to you. Now, I see we're at green, which means I think that let me see, 10:05, it's 10:10, I think. 10:10 is the break, okay. So, 10:10 is Q&A. So I think actually I'll move it over to Q&A at this point, rather than go through another 5 minutes and say, is there anything else that you would like to know while we're looking at the screens? Anything about Pathways, or anything about keeping your projects, or anything like that at all? what would you like me to show you?
I have allowed everyone to unmute yourself, so feel free to unmute yourselves. If you're having trouble, let me know.
Yeah, Graeme, this is very new to me, the Pathways experience.
Yes.
And I'm kind of sort of starting to get my head around Basecamp, but is there any directions or structure on how to use it as well in the Basecamp itself? Is there kind of a guide on how to get the best out of this and how to seek all this information as well?
I think you'll find a lot of information on the Toastmasters website itself.
Yeah.
So there are some videos and training things about how to use Pathways. Let's have a look. See if
okay, that'd be really useful.
Toastmasters. If we go to Pathways. Learn more, start page, FAQ, choose a path, go to Basecamp.
Navigator.
Navigator is what I want?
I think so.
Okay. Okay, yes. So if we go to the Navigator, this will give you a bunch of information about Toastmasters and so on. Pathways learning experience.
Yeah.
That will.
The navigator on the right-hand side of that previous page is really useful. The PDF to download.
Oh, this one?
Yes,
Navigator
that one.
PDF.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably choose one in a language that you know. That's probably useful.
Yes.
And this shows you a lot about pathways. Explore the basics, blah, blah, blah. There we go. That's one way of doing it. I think also within Pathways itself, I see your hand, Ivana, so I will get to you, don't worry. In Pathways itself, there is this thing here, tutorials and resources.
Right.
If you click on that, then you'll see, if we look at it, you can restrict this. You see there's a whole bunch of stuff here, but you can restrict this to what you're looking at, so what you want to look at. So if you click on tutorials, then this will show you a bunch of tutorial videos and a bunch of video transcripts. I'm not quite sure what the difference is there, but tutorial videos, you can see there's a whole bunch of things here: accessing mentor program, accessing speech evaluation resources, accessing certificates, all sorts of things here that should be able to help you.
Great. That's really useful. Thanks, okay. Graeme. Yeah.
One thing I should have mentioned too, or one thing I wanted to mention, I mentioned how important it is to get the right evaluation form for the project that you're doing. That's actually pretty easy when, like most things, when you know how. So again, if you look at the home screen of Pathways, we've got this thing here, right here, speech evaluations. You click on that and you should be able to see any evaluation form for the speech that you're doing. If you know what the project is, then you can use the find capabilities here. So if we want to look for the Icebreaker speech, for example, that's right here. Or one that I want to do, understanding vocal variety, you can click on that there. That will take you straight to the particular evaluation form for that project. So that's a really easy way, or at least a useful way to find the evaluations with you.
Oh, that's fascinating.
You know what happens? You turn up at your meeting and it's like, oh no, I forgot to give my evaluator the evaluation form. There's a simple-ish way that you can go and do that. So, Ivona, how can I help?
Thank you, Graeme, and thank you, everyone. It's a very interesting session. Apologies, I couldn't join you from the start, but I'm glad that I'm here. And no matter how many Pathways training sessions you attend, you always learn something new. I was wondering, what are your tips and tricks for helping new members get enough information for them to understand the pathways without being overwhelmed. Because I think there is a lot of information on the website. And for people who are really across and don't mind watching videos and, you know, going through different, mostly visual material, I find, probably, and if you have time, that's okay. But what's the basic, and I'm not talking about, you know, one page or listing 11 paths with different projects, because that's, in my view, not enough for them to understand. So what's the kit? What's the, like, a, you know, 3 different type of links you may give to new members, or what's your advice how to get them started without overwhelming them? I think that's my interest.
Sure. And I guess I'm contractually obliged to say you should bring them to a Pathways session like this one.
But that's useful. But, you know, some people have to join, attend few meetings, get a bit of a handle on Pathways to then realize, oh, I don't mind coming on Saturday, because and some people will never come to a Saturday or additional session. So
I understand.
Targeting that group, yes.
No, I understand. I was being a little bit flippant there. I do think there's really no substitute for a bit of personal interaction with people. So ideally, if your club has some kind of Pathways representative or champion, if that person doesn't mind offering just, you know, maybe a half hour or maybe even a 15-minute run through of, hey, look, here is how you get into Pathways, here is how you start, and here is how you get through your first project inside of Pathways itself. I mean, there's all sorts of guides out there, and I get what you're saying about having so much information that you can get overwhelmed. I mean, I get that way in my day-to-day job. There's so much information out there about IT, which is what I'm in, that I sometimes get overwhelmed. But if you've got someone that can say, hey, look, I've been through this before, and here is a pathway, if you like, through the Pathways journey, just an end point, I think that's probably the most valuable thing that you can do. That's my opinion anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah. Helen, hello, you've got your hand up there.
Yeah, no, I've got a really basic question. It's to do with Gmail.
Sure.
It's putting the information in, or creating folders so that you can store information. Or I know how to do that. All I want to ask you is, how do you put the colors on them?
The colors?
Yes, because there's an option. I know there's an option to put different colored labels. You know, when you put, you know, when you create the folders for information on your Gmail account,
yes,
what you've actually created is a label.
Yes.
You can have different colors. So how do you do that?
Ah, you might have got me there. I'm not sure.
I'll help you with that, Graeme.
If you right click on the folder, there is an option here to change color.
That's
okay.
Yeah.
So right click on the folder.
Right click on the folder.
Yeah.
And then you can change color.
Ah.
Is that the kind of thing you mean?
That's exactly what I want to know.
Awesome. There we go. Learning
that will make a difference to my life now.
Well, I'm very happy to help.
Thank you.
No worries. I see Clive has raised his hand.
Yes, hello. Well, look, thank you, Graeme, for your presentation, most helpful.
No worries.
My situation is that I'm a bronze communicator, and I was wanting to work towards being a distinguished Toastmaster.
Yes.
When we introduce Pathways, everybody starts again as a beginner in Toastmaster at the Icebreaker. It seems I've had a look at all the 11 pathways, and they're all pretty much the same path. So I got disheartened in that sense, and I haven't done anything since Pathways was introduced.
Okay.
So I need somebody to tell me you know, for someone that's fairly advanced in Toastmasters, whether there's another pathway.
Okay. You mean there's something that's sort of akin to the bronze communicator, silver and gold and all that kind of stuff that used to be in the old system? Is that what you mean?
Well, yes, something that leads you. I think you can still become a distinguished Toastmaster,
Yes.
but Pathways doesn't seem to tell you how to enroll to get there.
No, that's true. That is one of the perhaps weaknesses of Pathways. I don't have it to hand. I know that there is like a one-page summary that somebody's done of what you need to do to become a DTM. Anybody feel free to jump in here and augment what I'm saying.
Put it in the chat. Oh, Sue's put it in the chat. But really, you can't use your traditional paths anymore. You've got to do it under Pathways, and to get to DTM, it's completing 2 paths. It's being a club mentor, club coach, doing area directorships or district roles. It's doing club roles. All those things are required under the new system, not the old. You can't take anything from the old, unfortunately. But you know, you're a better man now, Clive, than you used to be. So your Icebreaker is going to be even better. Your evaluation and feedback will be good. You can just you'll find those very easy. It's the levels 4, 5 that you'll probably find are a bit heavier. So now, instead of doing 5 manuals, or sorry, doing 5 speeches per in the advanced manuals and doing 2 manuals, we're just doing 14 projects in a path. Do that twice, do those other roles, and you can become a DTM that way. There is also a DTM project, which is like a high performance leadership project. It's similar but different. So there are things you can do to become a DTM under the pathway system. It is totally different to what you've been doing before. So you will effectively have to start again, but I think you'll find it easier to get through those lower levels.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you very much.
Okay, no worries. I see someone, we're nearly at, I think, at time. Someone, Helen, I think, has asked whether we could start directly with level 2. You still have to go through that level 1 for each of the parts. And I've heard a lot of people talk about this. I would try to see that level 1 thing as not as, oh my God, I have to do this again, but more as an opportunity to look at different aspects of yourself and actually try to stretch yourself by talking about different aspects of you, different things that interest you, and so on. So the research project, I think, is a great opportunity to look into things that you may be interested in, but you've never looked at. So let's say I want to talk about how how do I glitter an aardvark, for example. I've always been interested in glittering aardvarks. So I can look up the internet and see how many people put glitter on aardvarks and how they do that and all the techniques behind that. Or for the Icebreaker, I could look at one very particular part of myself. My first Icebreaker was about the podcasting things I do. My next one could be about my day job and the challenges in that. The next one could be about how much I love my dog. I mean, there's all sorts of things that you can do. Hopefully it's more of an opportunity than a burden. But I understand that there is the sense of repetition, but I think it can be a little more than that. All right, I think we're at time, so I will hand back now to our wonderful Toastmasters, Sue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Graeme. And